starting our course. This is lecture number 7 of our course Sociolinguistics. In this lecture we are going to continue talking about the previous chapter, language and gender. Then we move to talk about language and ethnicity. Today we are going to discuss what are the possible explanations that women talk is different from men's talk, and we will consider dominance, we will consider difference, and we will consider analysis of gender. Now, analysis of gender is taking us to the end of chapter number 5. In this lecture we will also move to chapter number 6, where we talk about language and ethnicity. In this chapter we will have a short introduction about what does the word ethnicity indicate and what does it mean. We will give a definition, then we will have a formal definition of the word ethnicity. Then we will consider how language can be prejudiced. Then we talk about the use of certain words that indicate prejudice in the language. This involves using negative labeling, and we will also talk about reclamation. So, as a start, we will consider why men's and women's talk are different, and we have 3 reasons. The first one is the idea of dominance. When I talk about dominance, I need to consider the idea behind the dominance theory. This theory takes the difference in power between women and men as the main cause of discursive variation. So again, the dominance theory takes the difference in power between women and men as the main cause of discursive variation. So being more powerful or less powerful is the reason behind the variation, behind the difference between men and women's talk. So according to this theory, men tend to have more power than women, and this power can be either physical power, can be financial power, and can be in the position that men occupy in the workplace. And when I say workplace hierarchies, usually the top of the hierarchy is the manager, and usually the manager is a man but not a woman. Then even the high status positions or professions are occupied by men, not women. So the main idea behind the dominance theory is that because of the difference of power, there is a difference in the way men and women talk. Because men are physically more powerful, they are financially more powerful, and they occupy certain high status professions in the society. So weak points of dominance theory. Before we consider this theory, we find that there are certain points which are considered as weak points regarding this theory. Number 1, this theory shows women as powerless victims. It always talks about women as if they are victims of men. They are always oppressed with regard to the treatment of men. It also shows men as undermining, excluding, and demeaning women. So these are 2 points which are considered weak points in the dominance theory. The first one is showing women as victims. The second one showing men as always demeaning or excluding women. We move to number 2, which is difference, and we also have a difference theory. And this theory suggests that women and men develop different styles of talking because they are segregated at important stages of their life. Again, the difference between men and women talk is related to the segregation. The word segregation means separation taking somebody away from another. So the difference in the way men and women talk has to do with the separation between the two genders, between men and women, between female and male, at certain stages of their life. An example of this is playing in single-sex group as children. In certain societies, when we have male and female children, they are segregated. They do not play together. They play, male play alone and females play alone, and they have single gender games. So they are always, each group, whether females or males, are isolated and segregated separately from the other. Excuse me. Number two, having same-sex friendships in adult life. Even when they grow up and they become adults, even the type of a friendship is a same-sex friendship. That male is a friend to another male, or a man is a friend to another man, and similarly girls are friends to another girls. So it is friendship within the same sex rather than within the sexes. Now this leads to have separate rules for behavior, and in particular for talking. Now because they were separated, they have different rules for speaking, different rules for talking. Because they were separated, they were isolated, so each group has developed an independent way or an independent method of talking. Number 3 is the analysis of gender. Because they were separated, because they were segregated, they have developed a different way of talking. So the women and men's way of talking are different. Now let us analyze how gender is important, how gender can play a role in the difference between the way a man and woman differ in talking. As we said, gender plays an important role in the difference between men's and women's talk, and that's why men and women adopt certain style of talking to indicate their gender. Again, so gender plays an important role in the difference between men's and women's talk. So based on their gender, men or women, they adopt a certain or specific style of talking to indicate that they are men or to indicate that they are women. And this adoption of specific style is not only in the way men and women talk. We will give some examples that show that men would use clothes that indicate they are male, they use haircuts that they are male, and finally we will conclude that they also can choose, they can adopt a different or a specific style of talking which also indicate their gender, which indicate that they are male. Similarly, women would use specific clothes which are female oriented. They also use certain hairstyles, they use cosmetics, they wear jewelries which indicate their gender, and again they also adopt a specific style of talk which also indicate that they are female, not males. So the first example we have is that male and female use clothes to indicate their gender. Now it is commonly known that the color associated with females is pink, while the color associated with males is blue. So using a blue color indicates masculinity, while using a pink color indicates femininity. So girls are using pink while boys are using blue. So this is a way of adopting a specific style, a specific color to indicate gender. Now the idea behind this, why also not adopt a specific style of speech, a specific style of talk to indicate your gender? The other example we have is the use of jewelry the use of hairstyle, the use of makeup to indicate gender. Now, if you consider those images, the first image on the right, where we have a female using makeup. Now, this is another way of how a female indicates her gender, by using makeup. We will find it quite unusual if a boy is using makeup. Another example is the difference in the hairstyle or in the haircut. There are specific style or hairstyles or haircut that are used by girls, and another specific haircut that are used by boys. So each one is adopting a specific style to indicate his gender. So using one or another would indicate which gender you belong to. Now, also women would wear jewelry. They use jewelry, gold jewelry, or any type of accessories. They have to indicate that they are female. Now, the idea again is that they also can have or can adopt a specific style of talk to indicate that they are male or female. So adopting a specific style of talk is similar to adopting a specific haircut, a specific jewelry, or a specific makeup. So all this is a way of indicating the difference between the way men and women talk. Now, this is the end of chapter 5. Now we move to language and ethnicity, which is chapter number 6. The introduction of this chapter indicates that some people assume that you belong to a certain country or to a certain city based on your looks, or based on your skin, or based on your color, or based on your language. So sometimes if you speak perfect English, people would think, oh, he is English. They think you have come from England. If you are black, they think that you have come from Africa. Or if you, for example, have certain characteristics that belong to a certain country, they immediately associate those characteristics to the country you have come from, and they presuppose, or they have preconceived ideas that your ethnicity is this country, or you belong to this or to that place. What is ethnicity? What does the word ethnicity mean? Ethnicity is the attribution or the claim to belong to a particular cultural group on the basis of your genetics, on the basis of your language, on the basis of your religion, on the basis of your cultural manifestation. So the word ethnicity indicates the claim that you belong to a particular city, to a particular place, because you have this particular quality, because you have this particular say characteristics. Now, talking about ethnicity will lead us to distinguish between ethnic majority and ethnic minority. The difference between the two is based on the population of the group of people within a specific or in a certain country. Ethnic majority is a group which has a socially dominant culture. Now, because of the large population of the people, their culture is dominant. But ethnic minority refers to members of a minority group, to groups which are little in number. So if you take the example of America, the majority, the ethnic majority are American, and if you have a little majority of Muslims, they will be ethnic minority, because it refers to this group which is minor in number, which their culture is not widespread, their culture does not dominate in comparison with the ethnic majority, where their culture is socially dominant. So the ethnic majority has been established for a longer period of time, and the minority groups are the more recent product of migration. Now, if you want to differentiate between ethnic majority and ethnic minority, we can do this on the basis of how long a majority or minority has been established. So the ethnic majority has been established for a longer period of time, and the minority groups are the more recent product of migration. Now, if you take the example of Saudi Arabia, the ethnic majority are the Saudis, but the ethnic minority are, say, the immigrants, people who come to Saudi Arabia and looking for jobs and stay in this country. So ethnic majority refers to the people who have the dominant culture, whose culture is socially dominant, while the ethnic minority refers to people who are less in number, whose culture is less dominant than the ethnic majority culture. However, this distinction is not always true, because if we have the example of Native Americans, the Native Americans who have become displaced and marginalized by later European migrants. So taking America as an example, because the recent Americans, or the current people, are not the Native Americans, but they have displaced the Red Americans, or the Native Americans who were on that area before they have become. So when the Americans came, they have displaced and marginalized the Native Americans. So those have become, though they are recent, although they have been established for a very short period of time, they have displaced the original people or the Native Americans. So the distinction we have made is not always true, as we can always have exceptions, and the exception we have is the Native Americans who have been displaced by the later European migrants. The language of prejudice, and the word prejudice as a definition, it refers to preconceived, usually unfavorable judgments toward people because of gender, or because of social class, or because of their age, or because of their disability, because of their religion, because of their sexuality or race, ethnicity, language, nationality, or other personal characteristics. I repeat, so the language of prejudice, sometimes excuse me, sometimes language is used with prejudice. The word prejudice refers to preconceived ideas. The word preconceived means you already have a judgment. You do not judge people according to what they are, but you already have this judgment. So it refers to preconceived judgments, and those judgments are usually unfavorable. They are not just. People do not like them. Those judgments are toward people based on what? Based on their gender, whether they are male or female, based on their class, whether they are of a high class, poor or rich, low class. It is also based on age, how old they are. It can also be based on the disability of the person, whether this person has certain abnormality, whether he suffers from problem, whether he is a disabled person. It can also be based on religion. Sometimes Muslims are judged according to the religion. Just because they are Muslim, they are misjudged. They are given preconceived judgment just because they are Muslims. And sometimes according to the sexuality of the person, sometimes to his race, whether he belongs to this race or to the other race, and sometimes because of his language, whether he speaks French, whether he speaks Arabic, whether he speaks English, and sometimes because he belongs to this country or the other country. And there are other personal characteristics which we do not have time to include all of them. So the basic idea is that prejudice is a judgment, a ready-made judgment based on either gender, language, nationality, religion, etc. This image shows that we have a group of people who are together, but there is another person whom they refuse to include with them just because he is different. Now we have another example of how language is used with prejudice, how prejudice is used in language. We have an example from the British National Party, where we have a politician saying these sentences. The British National Party's aim is to nurture a feeling of national and cultural unity among our people. Notice the use of the word our, among our people, and makes reference to our ancestors whose efforts have made Britain our country. Now imagine this speech is delivered to the British people or to the English in general, but you will find that this person is using our, and this is in his speech. This shows that the intended audience, the people who are supposed to listen to this speech, are do not only belong to British majority, but also shares the same beliefs, because he says our country, our people, our ancestors. Now what about people who are British but they have come from different country? Because you could have the British nationality if you get married to a British woman. You could have a British nationality if you stay in the country for a specific period of time. So this speech is directed only to people who are natively British. The intended audience not only belongs to British majority, but also shares the same beliefs and attitudes which are the non-white British people. So excuse me, so people who are non-white or those who were British born people are clearly excluded. They are not supposed to be included in this speech. So this is one example of how language can be an example of prejudice, how prejudice is used in language. This politician is always relating this to the British people, only those British people who share the ancestor who are referring to Britain as our country. So again, this speech is directed to a specific audience which belong to British majority rather than the British minority. Sometimes another example of prejudice in language is when we use negative labels. Everybody nowadays know that the term or the word black is linked with the British it was often linked in the British media with negative signs such as hate, fight or riot. So anytime somebody is described as a black, the image that we have in our mind is hatred, fight and riot. Similarly, the word Jamaican from Jamaica indicates illegal drugs entering the country. This is of course not always true, as this is a stereotype of how prejudice is used in language. Another example is the use of a small islander, which refers to people who have migrated from poorer and smaller islands, and of course the term has become derogatory, and a person who's called small islander is being negatively indicated. What we have is reclamation. Now the word reclamation is a response to the use of those negative labeling. Reclamation is when members of ethnic minority, such as the black, such as a little number of people in a socially dominant culture of the original people. So the members of ethnic minority sometimes attempt to remove the power of derogatory ethnic labeling by using those terms among themselves as positive markers of a group identity. So we know that the word nigger the word nigger indicates black people, indicates slaves, indicates those people who usually fight, people who make riots. But when niggers themselves use this word between themselves, this word can indicate identity, can be a positive marker of a group identity, and can be used to indicate ethnic solidarity. However, or nevertheless, the term still retains negative connotation because it is still used as an ethnic abuse. So people, in spite of the fact that the black are using the word nigger among themselves to indicate ethnic solidarity, there are people who are still using this term as an ethnic abuse. This is the end of lecture number 7. Thank you very much.